Recording progress.
Sorry.
7 p.m. Will you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilor Wilson,
Here. Here.
Councilor Rysam, Mayor Rockenbach,
Here.
Councilor Flores, Councilor Strauss, Councilor Romer.
Just want to say real quick that I am in the meeting tonight because Jerry just had an absurd period of something to speak, so. But in the compliance of the complaint, any guest to work in the fighting sheet here of the word. Running a hybrid meeting tonight to continue to allow those who want to attend. So, cut down on background noise and feedback, and attendees should mute themselves while not speaking. Staff members and guests, when they're done, need to unmute themselves to give reports to council. Audience members may unmute themselves to speak during citizen comments. First item on the agenda is to approve the city council minutes from October 8th, 2024.
With the governing body to the following through October 8th to be found in
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the financial report of October 2024. They're in the packet. Financial reports need to be voted on separately.
Oh, that's my fault, we don't, it's just October.
That's why I was like, yeah. They need to be voted on as one. Any questions or discussion? Entertaining motion. Move that the custody of all the October 2024 reports.
Okay.
Motion and second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is agenda adjustments.
We do have a couple of adjustments tonight, and so, we have Travis in the fire department here to speak, during delegations. Central and School District was not able to make our scheduled time to go here in December. And we have an added new business item for the city logo project, which you'll see sort of in documents.
Sure. That's done. I am you ready?
I'm ready.
Go for it.
I was like, where are you looking at me from? Sorry, it's been a long day. A few more things to talk about than usual, as you guys probably saw. I'm gonna go out of order a little bit. There's a storage unit that was broken into. We have video surveillance there. It shows two men wearing masks cutting a specific unit. Why they went after that specific unit, we don't know. But it's something we're looking out for. It's the only one that was broken into, and that hasn't happened for a long time. So we're hoping it's just kind of a random thing. There was a truck stolen in Halsey from a very nice gentleman. I'll kind of go into the meat and potatoes of this. That truck that was stolen was used in several crimes throughout the state, actually, and ATM thefts, where they would go and chain the stolen truck up to an ATM and rip it out of the wall, then toss it into the truck and then take off with it. Several detectives from different agencies and the FBI even have. Tracked that down to a specific group of individuals who don't even live in the state of Oregon. So it's nothing that like Halsey has going on in their backyard or anybody that even lives in Lynn County or Oregon for that matter. So kind of a traveling crime group. That's being investigated by FBI and stuff like that for now. So they know who it is, just a matter of catching up to them and why they chose Halsey to steal the truck. I don't know, I believe it was left unlocked. And they probably just went after it for the size. We haven't found it yet. We did find the license plates, actually. It was found attached to another vehicle in Eugene. So, but nobody with it. The one arrest in Halsey was a warrant arrest. After a traffic stop, I would say a little more citations issued last month than typical for Halsey. Speeding, no insurance, stop sign violations, registrations, things like that. And Diamond K was a victim of some more theft. They had sold some trailers online and accepted payment online, and once those trailers were delivered, then the suspects pulled back those payments. So they got the trailers and then they got the money pulled out from under them. So be smart about who you're selling stuff to. Other than that, typical Halsey, I would say. Any questions, comments, or concerns? About a what? Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, I think you have my number, yeah, call, text me, email. Yep, what do you need to do? That's it? Okay,
I have
super easy.
one thing to add, often at this time, we talk about the stop signs being on.
Yeah,
ODOT is going to add flashing things to stop sign ahead signs, they come ahead of this flowing intersection. I will double check, they've also determined the moving stop signs actually goes into the road, because there's some proper sides. That's still intended, but maybe like this impacting that.
sure, I think did we email about speed signs too?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, my concern is going northbound. Well marked, going southbound, like not until you are already halfway through town. There's no speed limit signs. And then I don't ever remember that 45 mile an hour sign being there so quickly. Like cars are racing out of town, even well before, like a block or two before the park, there's a 45 mile an hour sign. So cars going through the park are already doing 45, 55 miles an hour.
This is like the.
Yes. Yeah. I recall in the past that doesn't start picking up until like after the tracks. So it's basically 35 all through the city, and then like Seafeld will start to increase and go up from there. But that 45 is pretty deep into the city, in my opinion, with no curves right there either. I think that's gonna be an issue in the long run, especially cars already want to accelerate. And so with that 45 scooted back so far, I think they're really gonna accelerate. We can work on that though, and just reach out, but maybe even sooner for a 35, like up here, or maybe just past the intersection. A 35 would be great. It just kind of. We have to be fair to the drivers too. So kind of general rule driving, if there's no signs, like. It is kind of a valid excuse to a point, well marked going north, but not so much going south. So we're typically targeting vehicles that are entering or leaving city limits. So from here east. It would be
Here
then that would be us, cause 228 actually stops here. And then this would be American. Yeah, yes,
There's 45 right here, or to be in the town. We used to be in my backyard.
sure. Yeah. And that would just kind of be the city changing some stuff, adopting some stuff and changing it. Like when we talk about complaints, like in front of Central Lane in the school zones, like if we see it, we'll enforce it. But that's a state highway. Right. And so we kind of rely on OSP to target that, so we can spend more time doing county roads and residential areas and stuff. Yep, here's where we, yeah. I don't wanna pass the buck to them, because we very much so enforce things every day on the highways, on Highway 99, going back and forth to different cities. It's the targeted, like focused efforts that you won't see us doing on the highways. But if we see it, we will absolutely address it. Yeah. So give you some homework.
So.
Black.
I want to say that, I just have, we have, the power. The guy that is working on the contract. To work and they ask for. They have to do work. So. Workers and get us there. I got off our. So. I know that there was a public.
Or we're saying something. Or something.
My chainsaw fired up. We're gonna have a lot of damn trees tonight. Yeah.
If she shows up, we'll be there. Okay. So we can move on to.
I know this, but this is.
Can we pause and Travis go and do things
Yes.
Well, thank you first of all for reading the thing. I'll make this short and sweet. So the idea that we were approached by the Chinese Coalition, which is a group that it's Chinese based, but what they do is they're Chinese American and they just advocate for things. And what they came up with was they want to do prepared disaster prepared. And they filled out a grant through Department of Health and they got a grant. What it is they said, drop a sheet. It's just a 20-foot Conex box. It's got locks and security and everything in it. It's got shelving. I'm gonna go through this really quick. Got electrical hooked up to it. It's got 3 95-watt generators in it. Solar panel, solar panel, so that if someone loses power or anything like that, it's got mass casualty cams, palatable. And some security, it's got security cameras, long. Like memory. And I'll keep going here. Radios, so like program, it's gonna have a couple of Starlink internet, the deployable one. It's all dehumidified, it's got propane tanks in it and stuff like that. And what they're looking for is a place to place these Connex boxes so that they can be deployed. So I set a long meeting with them, and we're gonna be up in the Portland area just because of how many people are there. But the remaining 2, Brownsville Fire is going to take 1, and we're hoping to take another one. The Albany, so I came up with this brainiac idea that the public works down there. If we placed it down there, it would be easy accessible and everything else. The caveat to this is that the fire department would manage it. So that's the idea, is that we would use it for our local citizens first. So if we go back to the ice storm. And Brownsville Fire had a family of 6 living with them at their fire station for over a week, just because they just had power. That scenario here, I mean, we have power a lot here, but you get out in the outskirts and everything. It would be a lot easier to supply these materials and everything to them. The only cost that would be to anyone would be internet connection for the security cameras, which is we all have internet, so that's not gonna gobble up the staff. And there's a dehumidifier inside the contact spots just to keep everything good, so you're talking, I don't know, pennies on the dollar to keep everything good there. This will be an all-state response. So let's say in Southern Oregon, there's a major storm, something happens down here. This would be a stockpile for them to come, whoever wants to do it. To come and grab the materials that they need to deploy it all across the state. I think it's a great idea just for the fact that, you know, we're on the I-5 corridor, that's the biggest selling point, so we can deploy anywhere. And with the fire department managing it, we're 24/7. There's always gonna be someone to answer the phone, and that's gonna cut all the red tape on getting these out. Is many of you know, a lot of these projects, great ideas, bad execution. You know, I mean, and we all prepare for all the bad stuff that's gonna happen, like, and it never happens, or we missed it by that much because someone didn't answer the phone or anything like that. So I'm trying really hard to get it into our community. I know that Brownsville's gonna have one too, but it's not just for our community, it's for. So I guess what I'm here for is to ask permission, if that's plausible for us to put it at the city works. I talked to Andy, he kind of showed me some spots. It's just gonna be a lock-up common spots. The only people that would be going in there would be, you know, the fire department coordinating with the city, obviously. There's a pallet of water in there, and my solution to nothing nice with water. Every year we buy a pallet of water from the fire department, so we just buy it, swap it out, that way it's always there. And the nice part is we don't have to ask permission to use it. You know, we're gonna let them know that, yes, we're using your stuff, but I think it's all the way around, it's a win-win. And I think it helps with you guys' preparedness for grants, you know, those kinds of things. It's like, it's a big step compared to most people have 2 totes in their room, you know.
And Andy, like some positive spot.
Yeah. It's a 20-foot box. And they even have it in here for putting the gravel down and things like that. Most of that lot's already gravel. They have you know, money in here to get it wired and all that stuff. And like I was talking to them, the minimal impact that we can put on the coalition and money, the longer the program will last. You guys know it's really easy to get something started. The maintaining part is always the hardest part. So this was kind of my solution to that is it's there, the internet, you know, wireless internet, that's not going to drag down any, you know, internet usage or cost any money. Power, it's like a 110 power, it's just enough to keep the dehumidifier. The maintenance on it's going to be once a month. We go make sure that the dehumidifier is working correctly. And once it's set, it's there. And Halsey Fire in Brownsville, pretty much Lane County, we're very active in the wildland fires. So we kind of have the pulse on what's going on through the state. Sean Johnson, my staff captain, he's on the INT, the management team. So they're all hazard, so. My goal the other goal of having it here is, we're gonna know when there's a disaster and. Gonna kind of throw that flag at that, hey, we have supplies. Versus, a lot of times when we go on the wildfires, they don't have supplies and we're buying people things and trying to help them. And the other thing about it is fire guys are pretty handy, so we know how to set up the generator properly. You know, things like that, but they're fighting in Portland and they don't even know what a generator is and things like that, so. That's all I have, sorry, a little over 3 minutes.
So what do you need from us? Just permission to.
Just permission, because it's gonna go through DA. DHS, then it goes back to them, and they're hoping to have it done by June. The time spots are being done now. And we're actually putting in, the fire service is putting input into the radios so that they get the right programmable radios so that we can program them in the field and things like that.
Effective, I'm in favor of this. I really spoke with Andy and he is good with it, you know, because obviously public works is his domain, so. I had a conversation with him several weeks in practice and with it. And just from our side of council is in favor of it. Travis and I will work out the details about like who gets access because public works shop is locked at night. And then I will reach out to our IT providers to make sure that there's no security concerns about how to return our internet. If there's a need for internet access, and if so, how do we create a public internet, if we have a provider to make sure that that's something that can be. So I don't have any regular class. It's all in my student. I think it's good to the or city, nothing a lot of our natural hazard mitigation.
And the whole idea. So that might be a win for you guys too. I don't know if you have cameras down, but that might be a win because the box is gonna have cameras because it's so important. You know, that might be a win for even,
Additional,
you know. Yeah.
So if you're going through any kind of scenarios where something might happen where the people you're expecting to have access to the same aren't available?
There's always that fire department, so that's kind of the goal of it. The access for us would be pretty easy.
So it doesn't really involve the city, you guys have access to.
Right, I mean, the only thing I would do is, I'm not gonna call everyone at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, get a disaster, but if we did use something, I would definitely make sure that we have a log of the pay. Our guys run properly at this time, you know, that just what the access is for. As far as like the maintenance of it, you got your tower. The phone reminds me of that. Even if the city, you know, and they're walking by and they're like, hey, I checked. Even the fire, to put my head in every day, make sure that that's kind of our goal is to work together.
Any other questions for comments?
More big curiosity, what happened to the old water?
The old water,
I mean,
we drink it. So we're gonna just keep it on a 1-year cycle.
Yeah,
So the idea is that we buy a pallet of water from our guys every year. On, you know, on fires and training and all that stuff. And we use about a pallet a year. So what we do is every June when we buy that in for our budget cycle, we buy a pallet of water, we take the new pallet. Put it in the bonnet spots, take the old pallet, here, then it will be a fresh pallet. Here versus. But it's that, I don't know, I drank some pretty bad bottle of water, fires there. Plastic does take up pretty lot.
So consensus, we're good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Travis.
The next item on the agenda is for citizen. They kind of, interested citizens and anyone in the audience to address the council. Unique items of concern. Please limit your comments to about 3 minutes. Please start introducing yourself and.
For some reason. They picked it out, and said it because it's fenced around the school, so they. Yeah, and they, that's
The reasoning,
the reasoning that it was.
it'd just be nice if it was.
I
Slow down.
I love teachers.
Watching. I was very French. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? It's Next item is request to council.
Emergency preparedness partnership. But the first one is once again for updates. And so this time, one of the things I've been working on. To find that gap in the film, we talk about how we don't have enough money. But what does the rest of it look like? And so this is a breakdown of how sort of chunked it out into phases and it's funded and what we're trying to get to be able to finish this project. After speaking with our funders from the state, we are able to do phase one now. So we are going to do phase one so we don't lose that money. And phase one is really well, lighting well, installing the pump. That's grant money. And, that was been the big stressor is that we don't want to see that grant money law. And so now we're working on getting the gap to be able to operationalize the well by doing the civil work, like doing the piping from the well into the water treatment plant, the electrical, and then the controls. We're looking at anywhere from a $250,000 to $450,000 gap. Yeah. So I have been working with the governor's office, with Oregon, USDA, and OPA to identify potential grant opportunities. I am right now. Everything that we're finding is federal, and all of the federal grants have a 50% match, and that's a big chunk. So if we have a $450 project, that means we come up with $1,000. It is unwise to spend more than a quarter of your reserve. And right now our reserve is about $1,000. So it's helpful that we have that because we can use it for match, but we want to mitigate how much match we really have to take from that because when you don't have that liquid acid, like right now we are trying to do it. But there are cities, for example, like Sotaville, who completely lost all their wells and are busting in water. And if they didn't have any money to do that, I'd probably do that. You know what I mean? So like that's the kind of thing that you really think about for the emergency fund. It's like we're really up a creek. How do we keep our communities in water? And then in the interim, we'll try to find a more permanent solution. So that is why that quarter is at 25% is what's recommended. I have a meeting set with Oregon again in USDA, and what it's called is a mini one stop. And what that means is that they basically look at our users, our rates, our current financial position, and they sort of let us know if we have to take a loan, like for part of this funding, like we would never. It is not reasonable for us to look at for. We have to swing it for our ratepayers. It would be. I don't think that we would qualify for it. It would just be a tough position to be in. We are still looking to try to get at least part of this, a minimum part of this funding through the grants. But they're going to be able to sort of give us an idea of what that would look like, what we would really qualify for. And so that meeting is Monday. And then I have a meeting December 3rd with, again, the governor's regional solutions office and, our senators or our federal senators office, not very rarely do you get them in meetings. I meet with their staff. We wanna be in the know for when they do congressional earmark asks. We are, well positioned for that because we have already invested in engineering. That doesn't mean it's not competitive, and it would definitely get it, but because we already have, we're like shovel ready. That bodes well for us, and some of the feedback that I've gotten from Portland School Board for the senator's office. Is that the amount that we're asking for is kind of a sweet spot. If we ask for a full 400,000, it's an opportunity at the federal level that's. Like a small ask, right, and so it's an opportunity to have a big impact. Without having to ask for a big number. You know, there's sometimes things earmarked for. Someone we need, you know. So we will certainly. Ask everywhere we can. To try to mitigate the amount that we're gonna have to come up with. Off the backs of our small pot of repairs. Which is small, it's hard to spread that cost across our users. In a way that doesn't just, you know, hurt people and their designs, right?
It's not what we want.
It's not what anybody wants to do. So. It feels like I keep saying more to come, but there's more to come. I'm just still looking. I've had a lot of weeks. I'm working with a grant writer at OCOG. I wouldn't necessarily work with them all the time. It's not free, but they are very specialized. And they have very good rates for this service. And because the well is a unique project, it's really important. To that expertise, they're helping down grants and they're working with me on imperatives and stuff. So, I'm just continues on, but we're back to bid for phase 1. Because we had to break the project apart and the scope changed so much. We are hoping to be able to contract by the end of 2024 for phase 1. So that we can, break ground on that.
So it has to be done by the June 30th, right?
Phase 1 has to be done by June 30th because of the limitations of the grant funds that we have. We're on track to do that. And, we are also. OHA is who does our water rights permits and stuff. And so the other thing that is a bit of good news is that, well, we don't want to drag this project out forever. Some of those asks that I was talking about, like the earmarks from the federal, from the Senate. Those would be like in the next round of budget cycle. So that would be like out when they're talking 2025 budget, and that's gonna take this timeline out if we were to receive one of those. And so I spoke to our geologists, who worked on our water rights stuff and made sure that there's no, we wouldn't have to start over on our permit process. Like there's no deadline to complete all phases of the project, or else like we're at 0 with OHA and have to start it, because for one thing, it's expensive and it's also very timely. We basically just finish our permitting whenever we're ready. And there's no sort of like external things that are saying we do not recommend here. For us, even though we don't want this project to take forever, it does give us an opportunity to have some tasks. Yeah, I mean, it's important, it's a big deal, it's been. And then upcoming events, obviously City Hall is closed, for Thanksgiving next week, we're closed Thursday and Friday. And then December 7th is actually a fire station event, but in our city, we'll have the email policies by the library has voted. Okay.
She's not excellent. Next item on the agenda is public works reports.
No, Andy is not available, he got a hold of me. If you send him, because she said nice and good.
Neither is one Larissa got either, and I don't have it on my phone.
So he told me to give it, this is pretty much it, it's how many gallons of water, or the average. But, the updates are they can install the new, pump on 198, so we have that computer we talked about, and it's been installed, it's up and running. Did some water service meter repairs. One of the things that we also did was, let's see. Oh, they did the, water installation, here at the warehouse going in. On First Street. They did the rebuild on the station pumps, that was for part of the maintenance goals. Both pumps needed, but they don't need it right now, so we decided to offset the cost of the year by doing one. Share. And so the update on that is that they got the gaskets, everything's installed. It's completely up front. And thank goodness, because that's really important when having events, that means working. So we got it done. Lots of tree removal at the park, as everybody has seen. And so that took up a ton of their time, and that was done. One of the things that did not make this list of maintenance because it was in November. But I know that one of the other things they worked on is before they did repairs on F Street, because there was a big area where there was asphalt being attached. There was an opportunity to go ahead and pump in the water into that F Street lot that the city owns before that repair. We don't have a plan for that lot yet, but it made sense to do it before we actually complete it. So they're gonna just do that. Any questions for me to relay to Andy? I told her to take notes. Beautiful. Yeah, I think she's having technical difficulties, unfortunately. And so she has these numbers, but one of the things that I can say, because I spoke with her, is she made this note about how she learned some lessons about her police event. And when I asked her about that, she said that what she learned is a thing. Because it just said the trick or treat fronts, which makes sense. And so we talked about some of the things here, having for an event where people might come in and stay for a while. So she definitely has a bunch of stuff out for Native American Heritage Month. A lot of she got some new books. I've seen her on a lot of therapy. She definitely had people that came in really fast, but they didn't come in. They just didn't like it. It's bigger. It's like her. Yes, to be around some. Oh. Oh, that was just before. Just having technical. Still have.
Next on the agenda is the council reports. You're speaking his report of anything this one, yeah. 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 And I monthly have not been to the school district meetings either, so I don't have anything. So, moving with old business. The first item is old business is the public camping board.
So we talked about someone wanted to table it. What I learned from the conference and that case study on this past case was that it really came down to the Eighth Amendment, which says that we want to do exception in the way we practice in our district. So last year, you guys did a lot of work to discuss what time, place, manner looks like and how to do that effectively in the city in compliance with the state law being done. I didn't see anything out of that case that would really impact the our time, place, manner. We think it does a good job on it, but also the state law did not really do it. And so in my opinion, I'm not saying that we should not talk about this at all, but. There's gonna be a new long session in the Senate, in the state Senate, and so we're going to see, potentially some changes with that law because of the grants pass case, so. If you wanna discuss this, I don't recommend discussing it in case. So my recommendation is at this time table it until we have the information based off of the laws. But. What's that?
I laid it out.
Yeah.
You know.
See which times we already did some this, yeah. So you want. She wasn't her.
Not so much the time to spend, I think that. The other component of this that brought it to the table is that there's the RV camping on private property. We do have people that are RV camping on private property, nobody is engaging in our permit process. We've had a handful of situations where people are living like in the right. Specific amount of 36 hours. And that is usually resolved with outreach. I will say that when this first came to the table, when I looked at other cities, ours are very lenient in comparison, and so. Do we want to consider time limitations, which other cities all have time limitations, many of them as restricted as like 2 weeks. Some of them even like us. I'm not suggesting that we would need to be that restricted. I think it defeats the purpose of helping your family members out when they're homeless. But also the fact that we allow 3 RVs on property is, depending on the size of the property, that could be kind of tight. That could be a lot if you're a neighboring property. And that's something that definitely our other communities are not doing. We are seeing issues in neighboring communities like Tangent, where they're seeing improvements. So, just something you should keep an eye on. I am starting to get some phone calls. I've had played some phone tag with the resident that has called recently and has questions about our arguments. And so people do have questions about it. I think that the more people are paying attention and they're seeing the arguments being next door to them, they're more interested in what things are. Understandably. And many people are in compliance with it. They're arguing it, except for they're not doing the process. People are not doing that. So, or just a consensus. Yeah. Do we just table it for now? Do we? Table it for now. Okay, we'll table it. Let you know, we'll come back to one session. Okay. First, I would like to give it to Sharon, and she's not with us. Let's click on to, next item of new business is, I'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about why you're interested in joining.
So, Dr. Jones, living in town. West side, meeting address. I just want to learn more about the city and get more involved a little bit and just learn some fun. Which it's the budget and the plan for building.
You would like to do both?
Yeah.
Okay, we do have vacancies on both. We have 1 vacancy on planning and 3 on. A little note for council, this option went out for you. There's a typo on option 1 where I stated it's about the budget committee and then it says part. So you'll just have to adjust accordingly. So where it says park, you should say budget. And that's what I'm doing. Okay.
Yeah, we have 1 vacancy on.
That's it.
We have to do them together or something.
Yeah, do it at once, but we'll be fine, and just sort of combine it, say, we appoint different jobs to budget.
I mean, the governing body was state policy, when put for jobs to the budget committee and planning commission.
Those.
Welcome.
Next item is the FEMA. Information. And what chat implementation. I think it was. Again? Okay. Would you? No summary for that.
This is Google, right? There's so much information and I actually have a really fantastic update. Audrey and I have been doing a million webinars, we've been reading all the reports, I've been emailing the FEMA tech support team. And after all of this and getting all this information and getting advice from Dave. It turns out that, all of the FEMA like guidance in their webinars, they keep using the term special flood hazard zone and flood zone really interchangeably. And so I kind of cornered them and I was like, does this apply to everything you could use in interchangeably? It only applies to this thing that they call the special flood hazard area, which is that if there's like a 30%, there's a 1% chance that you'll flood every year. And so we have had in our city limits. And that means that we actually don't have to adopt it as an option. And that puts us in very good shape because this is very, very seriously going to impact development. It is incredibly limited. You essentially what they're calling it no net loss. If you are in that special flood hazard area, you have to have no net loss of habitat. So that means that like if the land is bare, then you basically are paying for mitigation downriver or upriver. Displacement that you were taking that place from. Or if you have existing problem development, you have to like offset your impact. So you would say, I'm gonna put in a new shed, but I'm gonna take out my driveway to make up for the land that I'm taking away. Things like that are the examples that they give. So we are very fortunate that we don't have benefits. I am of the opinion that it is overreach on the part of FEMA and that it's actually not they're not the PPA, so why are they being tasked with enforcing protection of endangered species? However, they're still fast tracking this. So we get to table it. For now, there is some special flood hazard area on the west side in our urban growth boundary, but that doesn't impact us at this time. And it's also on the side that, you know, any foreseeable future development, those landowners are not really interested, from what I've heard at all. So we skirted it. Brownsville is incredible.
Skip over that. Next item for new business. Approving the 2023-2024 audits.
Audit, it is available for council review. We have no violations or exceptions, and the audit has been submitted to the state of Oregon. This packet includes our full audit report, and it also includes our letter to council, which, you know, they use a lot of language to basically say that we don't have errors or exceptions or issues that we. Does anyone have any questions about the thing?
Is there any kind of liability to the auditors? If you find something down the road that they should have thought, are they responsible for that oversight or what happens there?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Your auditor is responsible with that.
They're saying this is a bid, that it's down.
One thing to note is that our ending cash balance is something that we always have to, or beginning cash balance is the thing that we have to estimate, right? What's in our operating for the year. And across pretty much all funds. The beginning cash estimate was well more than what I estimated, so that always puts us in a new position. The one fund that is not the case is our park fund, and that is because during the transition. I don't wanna place any blame. When we say we're doing interfund transfer, so when we say we're gonna transfer this much to park and this much. Last year, that didn't get done. And so it doesn't matter. It's just an accounting step, and not just a matter of most interfunds. But the park fund is very, very small and very, very dependent on those interfund transfers. It doesn't mean that we're in trouble in that fund, but it does mean that our beginning cost balance was very, I guess. Because that's about how much we said we were gonna transfer. So, we're here now. So that, essentially, in my perspective, that's good news, because that means that we estimated well. And our funds are healthy. And, the issue with the park can't be, can be addressed. So there's mechanisms for us.
Going forward, and
Yeah, going forward, fine, and there's opportunities for us to do that, to that budget, and to be right.
so.
Under the governing body of the city of Halsey approved the 2023-24 fiscal year audit that's submitted.
Yes, and so council was asked to provide guidance to staff on how to proceed. And essentially what prompted this is our first city logo on the back of this options page. And we wanted to, it's very, very detailed, which makes it hard to read on like that smallest one is like letterheads and stuff. And the amount of detail that you sort of read what the picture is, and you can not see the text very well. And that also translates to like counties for 3D printing and embroidering and things for like creating a good shirts and stuff for staff or any other thing. So that is why we decided to go ahead and prepare a few other ideas. Really this is the first time I'm seeing it. And so the idea is we just wanted to get input from council on a specific project that you would like to see a similar time. And if so, then we can discuss it more next month. Like we can kind of open it over. You can come back, having had some time to digest it and say what you like and don't like about. We can give an option. Ultimately, we as City Hall thought it would be fun if we do with this project, is that if we sort of get it down to, you know, a top 2 or top 3, or then we're trying to with council input. If we were able to take it to the community and have like that poll on Facebook and let the community confirm it over. And drive that sort of community engagement and that ownership. So that's our thoughts.
You're the one who does embroidery, right? I am all for changing. I cannot tell you the little detail I have taken out. To make it work. I can't, just say something.
No.
And now I was like, I wonder if there's something thinking about that.
I can see the pros and cons of all. So,
That would be helpful.
yeah.
So council just at this time ask for consensus on who would like us to move forward or not. Because this is not one of our council goals. Yeah, it's kind of that proper.
I see it taking up time anyway. So. It being much mature, focused on something like this, and be some quick way from it.
Marissa is me.
Yeah.
I. Just. Marissa has the skills that she really, yeah, I don't, and meetings talking about. So.
So do we have a consensus then?
Even if we kind of go bonding.
It's kind of. We can talk about the next meeting, if we do move forward. I know that Marissa will want to have feedback if there's any sort of like suggestions, things you like. A little note, this silo is actually, she made this little upgrade on the future part of the silo. So.
The brain.
The granary, yeah. It's not a silo, but you. You know.
Well, as far as how you're being processed. If we're gonna do the board, just. How are we gonna know? Like in any. Election, how are you gonna know who's voted 50 times, because you have to vote with 50 by. And there aren't that many people voting, so there's one.
Right, so I know that if you do a poll on Facebook, it's attached to your account, but that doesn't mean that people can't make 6 accounts, 10 accounts, whatever they can. So it would not have. Super rigid election integrity. In that regard, if it were really. That. I do think that it's nice to have an opportunity for people that are not really used to people to put it in the previous letter as well. Pass it over, you're not going to be attention to it. So we can ensure that everything's there. That would also again be an opportunity to potentially get to the. So yeah. Okay. That's no problem. All right. You know, ordinances or resolutions, they're meeting.